Hello, everybody. I don't really have a whole lot today. I did find something at the store that I didn't know about. I use a couple of the different apps where you get cash back for purchases and stuff. And on Ibotta, they listed Mrs. Freshley's Deluxe Snack Cakes. We found them in the aisle with like the Little Debbie and the Hostess stuff. Found the Hershey ones. They also have a Reese's one, and they didn't have them at the store today. But they did have the Hershey one, so I thought we'd take a look at them and give them a taste. This is what they look like. They're little chocolate-covered cakes. Picture on the box shows that they're cream-filled, so let's see what they look like. See if they taste any good. And let's break it apart. Oh, come on. Come apart. Come apart. That's what they look like. There's some chocolate cream, and it's a chocolate cake with chocolate coating and little chocolate squiggles on top. Pretty good. They remind me a little bit of the Hostess cupcakes, only with a chocolate filling instead of a white cream. More chocolate. Not bad. I would get these again. So they come 6 in a box. So that's pretty nice. Little snacks for the rest of the week. Hopefully next time I'll find the Reese's flavored ones, which I think are pretty much the same, except that they've got it like a peanut butter filling. I'm just guessing since I couldn't find them to find out for sure. In yesterday's video, I was talking about the Kinder Bueno. These things are fantastic. I guess they've been out for, what, about a year now, at least? I think I've been eating them for about a year. And this is what I was trying to describe. They're like four little segments all together. And they consider this a 2-bar pack. Okay. So each little segment is like a little, that's the wafery part, is just crispy, coated in chocolate with a little squiggly design on top. Because, you know, when you got chocolate, it might as well squiggles. And then there's this super, super creamy, it just says creamy nut filling. And that's inside the crispy little wafer shell. So basically it's cream, surrounded by crispy, surrounded by chocolate. And you get 4 of these little bite-sized pieces in a bar, 2 bars per pack. And then you can also get, because I'm an addict, this, which we call a 4-bar pack, which is essentially 2 of these in together, and this is a whole lot cheaper than buying them separate. The only reason I bought them separate is because through, I believe it's Swagbucks, one of their shopping offers is if you buy the individual ones, then you can get money back. I was like, okay. Getting the money back brings it back down to a pretty good deal. I was using Ibotta today, Fetch, and Swagbucks. So between those 3, I'm getting money back on pretty much everything I bought. I would leave the links in my description, but every time I do, they take my videos down. I don't understand that because other people can put their referrals for various places, and it's fine. I put a referral up, I get my ads or my videos taken down. I don't know. It's frustrating. But I would love to offer you, the opportunity to check them out. So, I use Rakuten when I do online stuff. There's supposed to be another one, and I don't remember what it's called. Something like Checkout 51, I think. Which I haven't used yet, but I've seen it advertised on some website. So maybe I'll try it and see, if they've got other deals that I like. The thing with Ibotta is you have to select what you're going to redeem. And sometimes you'll select an offer. Like when I went to the store yesterday, I bought a bottle of shampoo and they had an offer, any hair care product. And it showed a bottle of shampoo. And I was like, okay, well, it didn't come up when I scanned my receipt. So I said add item, tapped on that, and it said to scan the UPC code. So I did that. Told me it wasn't it wasn't a valid item. And I'm like, it's a bottle of shampoo, and it says any size, any brand. So why is the bottle I bought not included? It's still shampoo. I don't know. Sometimes weird stuff happens like that. There was a time once before where there was another any item thing, and it was for cookies, any cookie. I bought a package of Oreos. It says right on the package. Matter of fact, I've got some here. It says right on the pack, cookie. Scanned it. No. It was rejected. And I'm like, seriously? Oreos? It says cookie on the package. And it was for any cookie, any size package, any brand. You're being that stingy over 10 cents back? Sometimes it's just crazy like that. Sometimes they will specify a size, and the store will have everything but that particular size. Not even a space for it on the shelf. There was a cereal today. I was going to buy a box of cereal. I thought, oh, let's get the one that I can get money back for. So I selected the item, and I looked at it, and I scanned the box while I was in the store because I didn't want to buy it and then come home and, oh, it's the wrong thing. Wrong item. I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's this other size. Scanned it. No, wrong item. So I looked at the thing a little closer, and it was like it wanted a 32-ounce box, and they had a 28-ounce box, and they had a 17-ounce box, but not a 32-ounce box. They're like, are you kidding me? So stupid that it's that specific. Sour Patch Kids was another thing. My son loves them, so I was going to get Sour Patch Kids, and there was an offer for like a 3.6-ounce bag. They had an 8-ounce bag. They had I think was it like a 9 or 10-ounce bag. They had the big like pound-and-a-half bag. They had a 3.5-ounce box, but they didn't have the 3.6-ounce bag. And I'm like, why are we looking for something so stupid? I'm kind of wondering if maybe Dollar General might have it, because I think they have the Werther's Originals. That was an offer for that, and I like those. And I thought, yeah, I like having some small candies around when I just want a little something, because I don't always want a big sweet thing. Lately, I've been on a salty kick. So chips. So something like, Hershey Kisses or the little Werther's, because they're small. It's just enough to satisfy that little bit of a craving. Because since this pandemic started and the lockdown and everything, all these people are complaining on Facebook about how they're gaining all this weight because they're stuck at home and they're eating and stuff. I've lost weight. I don't know how much exactly because I don't know what I weighed before the whole thing started. But I do know that I have lost about 60 pounds since the last time I was weighed at the doctor. And that's significant. And, I'm going to say plus or minus about 5 pounds to take into consideration the differences between scales and things. So, still, 50 to 60 pounds is pretty damn good. I haven't changed what I'm eating. I generally eat one big-ish meal during the day. And then I'll have little, snacky things throughout the evening or whatever. I can't eat when I first get up. I'm usually not hungry, and the thought of eating just is like, ugh. So after I'm up a little bit, if I'm hungry, I'll eat something. If I don't feel hungry, I don't eat anything. Sometimes it's not until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm starting to get a little hungry. Oh, it's almost dinner time. Well, I'll just wait till dinner. And then sometimes we don't even eat until 8 o'clock in the evening. But, I guess I instinctively do the intermittent fasting thing. Is that how it works? Is, you eat during this period of time, and the rest of the day you don't eat? Nothing more than water? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I've never looked up to what it is, but I've heard people talking about it, and I think that's kind of what I'm instinctively doing. And, now that I'm not tying myself to 3 meals a day and certain things, I feel freer and I'm eating what I want. And I'm still losing weight. So that's a good thing. I'm not even trying, which is even better. And then I find things like this, the snack cakes and the candy bars, and I'm like, I want it. But I also, at the same time, I'm like, I probably shouldn't eat so much of that because I am diabetic, so I shouldn't be eating a whole lot of this sweet stuff anyway. So I try to find things that are just small and will satisfy that craving. And so I'm kind of happy to be opposite of what most people are saying. Because so many of my friends are like, oh yeah, I've gained so much weight over this pandemic. And I'm like, I've lost weight. Because we're not going out and eating as much. So when you don't go out and eat, you're actually conserving a lot of calories, usually. We broke down and bought some McDonald's for dinner tonight. And, I wasn't starving, so we just got a small amount. And I had $8 cash, so we got 2 drinks and 4 McDoubles, which was $8. And that way each of us had 2 hamburgers, and if we wanted something else, we've got chips and snacks and things around the house. We can fill in with other stuff if we want it. And, only going out once, maybe twice in a month instead of once or twice a week. Big difference. Saves a lot of money, for one thing. Saves a whole heck of a lot of calories. When I was going to college at the University of Rio Grande here in Ohio, Rio rhymes with Ohio. Everybody's like, Rio Grande. No, it's Rio here. But when I was going there, we had pretty much 3 restaurants and the cafeteria around. And if I was on campus from my first class starting at 8 in the morning and my last class ending at 9 o'clock at night, 12, 13 hours on campus, it's like, okay, well, you end up eating out a lot. We had McDonald's, we had Subway, and we had Bob Evans. Well, Bob Evans is a sit-down restaurant where they take your order, and, it takes time, and if you're between classes, sometimes you don't have very much time. So it's like, okay, well, that's out for most days. If I'm really running early, sometimes I would go and grab breakfast there because they've got fantastic breakfast. the farm is known for making sausages, and they have good sausage. So I don't know how broad a range Bob Evans has. It's a pretty popular chain here. And I know there's several states in the Midwest that has it. So I don't know, where if you're from, if you have it in your area or not. But it's basically just like country style food. One of the things I really like is their spinach salad with the grilled chicken and the strawberries. It's really good. But I really like their breakfast stuff. And breakfast foods are generally high carb and high calorie. Go figure. But yeah. So we could go there. But for a lunch, unless you have like a big gap in between classes, it's just probably not the best choice. Then you have Subway, which was always crowded, and they took so long because they were always short-staffed, which is weird because kids on campus were always looking for jobs, but Subway, for whatever reason, wouldn't hire enough people to cover, and they were busy all day long. Like from the opening to close, they were always busy. Didn't seem to matter what time I'd go to get a sandwich, they were always busy. So I didn't go there very often because they were slow and they were always busy. McDonald's was always busy, but they were super fast because they knew what the heck they were doing. You could go, and they didn't have the speakers that you talk into at the drive-thru. You actually pulled up to a window, told them what you wanted, and then go pull up to the next window to pay and get your food, which was fine. And it was pretty efficient. They were fast. I never had a problem with them. Matter of fact, they became a problem in that there were times when if I had a 12-hour day on campus, I would hit them 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I was walking around a lot, so I was burning off a lot of those calories. Now, I'm at home. I don't go very many places. I'm not active like I used to be because I don't have anywhere to go. And so, it's kind of like you got to just watch what you bring in the house. Anyway, that's not my normal topics here on the channel, but I was actually gaining some weight. I burned off a lot of the calories, but I did gain some weight while I was on campus because I was eating out constantly, and that's just not healthy. However, when I stopped eating at McDonald's every day, I lost 50 pounds like that. So now that we're back to not going out to eat very often, I think that's part of why I'm losing weight. Even though I feel like I'm a junk food junkie and living on chips, I'm still not consuming all that greasy, fried, heavy, carbo-loaded gunk. So, it makes a difference. And I don't know, I'm pretty happy to be losing weight. However, I'm to the point where my clothes aren't fitting. I just bought pants, and you're not allowed to try them on in the stores because of the COVID thing, and you're not allowed to return them. So I buy what I think is the right size, and I bring them home, and I put them on, and they're too big. But then I'm not sure if I would have bought this size smaller if they would have fit me. I think I'm kind of in between sizes at the moment because some things fit better than others. But like t-shirts, it doesn't matter. I get them big because I like them big. I like them comfy. So I always buy them bigger than I need anyway. But pants, if they're too big, they fall down. And I don't really want to be walking around pulling my pants up every couple steps because it's very annoying. So that's where I am with that. And I'm also kind of worried about, I'm still looking for a job. What if I get an interview and they want to meet me in person for an interview? I have no clothes to do an interview in because none of my nice pants fit anymore. They're all too big. And the ones that aren't are too small. I don't have any that are the right size. So it's kind of like, what do you do now? And Lord, I don't like to wear dresses. And the dresses I have are either super casual or one's a little fancier than what you would want for an interview. I bought it to go to a banquet. So, yeah, I don't really have anything to wear to an interview if I would ever get one. So that's kind of frustrating. But anyway, I was just taking a little break from my book. Today I'm listening to Spirit Bound, which is the fifth. Yeah, it's book 5 of the Vampire Academy series. So one more and I'll be done with that series. Then I can start reading the spin-off series. I'm almost finished. I am somewhere in chapter 18. So I've got about 2.5 hours to go in the audio. So that puts me about maybe 150 pages or so left of the book. Because I'm at 3 something and it goes to 487, I think it said. Oh, 489. And I'm at like 3. I don't know, 315-ish? Anyway, that's where I'm at on that. I haven't really been reading very much since we hit August. I was planning on doing the Canadian, the Read-A-thon, and I had put out a question to Books and Lala and never got a response, and then I was like, well, I'm kind of not in the mood to read anyway, so I just let that drop. Which is too bad, because I kind of wanted to participate. Because it sounded like a fun one, and there was a whole bunch of Canadian booktubers hosting it, and I thought, yeah, it might be kind of fun. But, I didn't get any responses, and I was just like, oh, whatever. I'll just let that slide, and we'll, maybe next year, maybe I'll get a response next time I ask a question. I know she's busy, and, she probably didn't see it or whatever, but, it's just kind of sad that I couldn't get a response to a question about the readathon. But meanwhile, I'm busy on Goodreads in a group called A Million More Pages, or AMP. And I'm a mod on that group and have been creating challenges, so that's fun. And I'm looking at doing my own reading challenge, and if anybody else wants to do it, they're welcome to it. In November, doing Newbery November and just reading as many of the Newbery Award winners as I can get. No special incentives or anything. It's just something I thought would be fun to do. And if anybody else would like to, that's great. And I'm not sure, but Gavin Hetherington, he changed his name on BookTube. He's How to Train Your Gavin. Does, and I called it the wrong thing the last time I mentioned it. Believe-a-thon? Is that what it's called? He does one that focuses on like middle grade. And I think if you wanted to do Newbery November, you could tie that into his if he's doing it again this year. I know he did one in the spring. So I don't know if he's doing it again in November like he did last year, or if the spring one took its place. I'm not sure what he's up to. But that's something to keep an eye out for if you happen to see that he's doing it. That That's a fun one. And he gets some responses from actual middle grade authors that participate and suggest books, and it's kind of fun. It's neat to hang out with the authors and things. I got this weird shadow happening. If I look down, it's like my eyes, I look like a raccoon. But if I do this, then you're looking up my nose. That's not fun either. Weird shadows. I have the worst lighting in this house. That's one thing I would like to fix. But, takes money. No job, no money for things like new lighting system. Haven't found anybody who wants to, remodel my house for free. I do have somebody who wants to buy it and tear it down. I just can't face the idea of moving. There's just so much stuff to go through. There's my stuff, my son's stuff, the stuff that my parents had. And with my dad just passing away in May, I've been kind of going through some of his things bit by bit. It's just overwhelming because there's so much stuff. And I have stuff from my grandparents on both sides of the family. And it's just insane. There's just so much stuff to go through. And I'm trying to get rid of things little by little. Not my books. I really need to get my bookshelves put together. I've got 2 sets yet that still need to be put together. And I don't know if I'm going to put them in this room and block the window. It's just like a big picture window, and it's... I would never look out it. It's always covered with the drapes. I mean, you can see the blue drapes there. And, in my earlier videos, it was always the background was the drapes. You can see them better there. And so we never look out. And really, in the winter, all it does is makes the room colder, because if the wind blows the right direction, it's coming right through the window. And, that would be at least a windbreak. We've put plastic over them and things, and it's too big of a space of glass. And since we aren't really using it anyway, I don't care if they're blocked by bookcases. I don't know if I can fit 3 across or just 2, and then still have a space in between or whatever. I haven't measured, but I know definitely 2 will fit there, but possibly 3. That's a pretty good sized space. The other idea is in the bedroom, that was my dad's room. I'm going to get rid of the nightstand that's in there because I just don't like it. I don't want it. It's taking up space that I can put other things in. And I think it would give me room then to put 2 sets of bookshelves in there. And still have the dresser where it is. And not have to move the bed or anything. So, I don't know. It's just all these decisions to make. We had that sectional sofa, and I kept 2 pieces of it, and I'm thinking really about getting rid of the one because it's just awkward and in the way right now. Of course, I built my bed here in the living room because at that point in time, I needed the other room, the bed in there, because Dad was in there. And then when I ordered the bed, and then my brother and his wife, when they come down, they stay in that room. So here I am in the living room because the ceiling fell in the bedroom I did have. And of course, I can't repair that right now. So every time it rains on where my bed was up there. So of course, when the stimulus checks came through, first thing I did was I bought a new bed so that I didn't have to sleep on that god-awful, uncomfortable sectional sofa. And then we got rid of all but the 2 pieces. And I'm thinking about chucking those as well. But then that leaves a problem. If anybody comes to visit, there's nowhere for anybody to sit except the bed. And I don't want everybody sitting in my bed. It's bad enough when I bring things home, I set it on the bed, and then every night I have to clear all the crap off the bed and whatever so that I can sleep. Today it's, snacks that we bought while we were at the store. But that won't be too hard to put away. I just need to figure out where in the kitchen to put them, where mice aren't going to get in them, because I don't want to share my snacks with the mice. I'm greedy like that. No chocolate for the mice. Hear that, mice? No chocolate for you. No chips for you either. I need to clean out. There's a space in my bathroom. I replaced the sink and the cabinet, that whole section. And there's a space between it and the wall that I need to clear out. And I'm trying to figure out what to do with the scale that's in there. I don't really know where to put it. And I don't know if I should maybe put it out in one of the sheds and store it for a while, or if I just say the heck with it and try to sell it, or if there's somewhere else in the house that I could put it where it would still be usable. I don't know, because it's still a good scale. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just in the way. And I bought a new toilet, and it's still sitting in the box because it was delivered the day after my dad went in the hospital. And so the money that I was going to spend to have the new toilet installed and have a piece of floor repaired in the bathroom ended up going elsewhere. So now I have this toilet in a box that is sitting in my kitchen. The joys of almost homeownership, because probably around Thanksgiving to Christmas is when the 6 months should be up, and hopefully that means then the house will become mine. It will go into my name because my brother didn't want it, and he's signed paperwork saying that at the lawyer's office, and I don't really want to go through all the hassle of moving right now, even though the funeral home next door wants to tear it down and build a parking lot. Oh, I'll give you a competitive price, but I don't want to move. He asked me about that right after Dad died, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We're in here setting up his funeral arrangements or whatever. Well, we didn't do a funeral. We had a cremation, and then we did our own burial out at the cemetery. And when I went to pick up the ashes, he was like, yeah, we want to buy your house and so we can tear it down and make a parking lot. But I don't want to move. I don't want to sell it right now. So you're coming at me like 2.5, 3 weeks after my dad died, wanting to buy the house and tear it down? You want to make me homeless? I don't think so. And I was out putting laundry up today, out on the line, and he called over the fence to me, and I went over and talked to him for a little bit. He's like, have you given any thought to the offer? I still want to buy your house. And they're like, I don't feel like moving right now. It's too much to go through, and it's definitely too soon after Dad dying to make that decision. Because it's not even in my name yet. So I can't make that decision yet. And he's like, well, the offer still stands. If you decide, let us know. We want to buy the house. And tear it all down and flatten it and make a parking lot. Yeah. Fun, fun, fun. And I'm convinced the sun is broken because I have put the same load of laundry out for 3 days and the stuff is still wet. When I took it off the line this evening, it was still damp. Some of the things felt wetter when I took them off the line than when I put them on the line. So unless somebody is sneaking back there when I'm not looking and spraying my stuff down, I think something's wrong with the sun because my stuff's not getting dry. It's plenty warm out there. It's not full sun all afternoon, but it gets full sun for a good bit of the day. So I don't understand why my stuff's not getting dry. Of course, I was a little embarrassed that, the first row was all underwear. The guy from the funeral home looked over because he was like, how you doing? What are you up to? And I'm like, oh, we're doing okay. I'm just trying to get some laundry hung out. Hopefully it'll dry today because it didn't dry yesterday. And he looked over, and it was just my underwear. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. This guy that I barely know, I only know him because we made the arrangements with him, is looking at my underwear. Yeah. But anyway, I have rambled on for over 30 minutes, almost 40 minutes, with just random nonsense that stuff is funny. I mean, the main reason we went to the store today wasn't to buy all the junk food that we bought. We bought an incredible amount of junk food. Well, I might do some Klondike bar taste tests coming up soon. They have some new flavors. We found 2 out of the 3, the donut shop flavors. And we found Boston cream and we found triple chocolate. We haven't found the strawberry one yet. Strawberry sprinkle, I think. Something like that. Something strawberry frosted? I don't know. Some kind of strawberry donut flavor. There's 3 new flavors out, and I was like, cool, we found 2 out of the 3. So maybe we'll do a taste test of those. The nice thing about Klondike bars is when I want ice cream, that's enough, actually. Otherwise, I'm grabbing, I used this bowl earlier to transport ice while I was in the kitchen, and my mug was in here, so I filled it full of ice. But I usually use, and this is a pretty good sized bowl, a bowl like this, and put a pretty good amount of ice cream in there when I have it. And this, compared to a little Klondike bar, the little Klondike bar is enough to satisfy that craving. I don't need this great big pile that I normally get. I need to put some more ice in there and actually I need to go put some tea in my mug. So yeah, that might be something I do coming up. I'm anxious to try those flavors, and hopefully I can track down the 3rd flavor. I don't know. I think tomorrow night, if things go as planned. Okay, back to why I went to the store today after going yesterday. I forgot to buy Parmesan cheese, which I needed for the meal that I was planning to cook tonight, which will now probably be tomorrow night. And while we were in the store, I said, oh, I need to get Parmesan cheese. And before I went to the aisle to get it, I was like, oh yeah, I also need, and since we're closer to that, I went to look for the other item, which of course that particular store didn't have, and completely forgot then to go get the Parmesan. Well, the local store, the smaller store, does a freebie on Fridays if you have their little card. Kroger used to do that. Now they offer a Friday deal, but it's not Freebie Friday anymore. A lot of times it's, you get bonus points at the gas station or whatever. But Food Fair had Today, the Freebie Friday thing was RC Cola or 7-Up products, which includes A&W Root Beer and Sunkist and Diet Right. I don't know if there's anything else or not. But that line of products, you could get 6 half-liter bottles, a 6-pack, for free. I'm like, well, none of us drink it in the house. Well, me and my son and I, neither one drink it. But when my brother and his family come down, they all drink sodas. So I chose 7-Up because I figured it was the least offensive of any of them. And also I have a recipe for a 7-Up cake that I wanted to try. So if nothing else, if nobody wants it, then I'll take the bottles around to the different blessing boxes and people can get a soda. But at this point in time, I'm just going to hold on to it and see if they want them. And if they do, then great. Or I'll make the cake. And if we really like the cake, then I'll keep them to make cakes. But I should have gone last weekend. Last Friday, they had chips. Snyder's of Berlin, I think it was. Or was it Snyder's of Hanover? It's confusing because there's 2 different Snyder's brands. I think it was Snyder's of Berlin. And I meant to go and just didn't get up and go. I could have. It's not that I was doing anything special. But we'd already been to the store earlier in the week, and I was like, I don't really want to go to the store again. So I just didn't go. And then I went this week because I forgot to buy things I needed to make dinner. But what I was going to make tonight, and I'll probably do it tomorrow night now because I thawed out the meat for it, is a pizza meatloaf. So I have like my pound of ground beef, some ground chuck. I have a pound of Italian sausage. I have some pepperonis that I'm going to chop up and mix all that in together. I'll probably chop up some banana peppers and put in there. I have a jar of the pepper rings, and I like banana peppers on my pizza, so I'll throw that in. And put in the middle some mozzarella cheese, and I didn't buy pizza sauce because I already had some spaghetti sauce and I figured that's close enough. Put a little of that in the middle and make my little loaf, and then some sauce over the top and some more cheese on the top. And I've made it before. I always make it different because whatever I happen to have on hand. And I wanted some Parmesan cheese to put in it. It didn't have any because I used it up when I made something else earlier in the week. And just completely forgot to buy it yesterday, even after I said, while in the store, I need to get. Anyway. So I ended up going to Walmart and the local chain store, and while we were out, we just grabbed a couple burgers from McDonald's because I didn't want to come home and start making dinner at like 10 o'clock and not be able to eat until 11 or 12. It's just crazy. So I'll just do that tomorrow. And then we'll probably sometime over the weekend do something with chicken that I thawed out. I had fried chicken last night from the store deli because their little bonus card thing, we got triple points if we got fried chicken from the deli. And I'm like, sure, why not? Don't have to do a whole lot of cooking. And then I got home and promptly started cooking. I had bought sweet corn. Well, after shucking it, I had to cook it. And I also bought a package of the Simply Potatoes, diced potatoes, and boiled those up and made a potato salad. And if I would have thought about it, I should have saved part of the bacon that I used in it for the pizza meatloaf. Oh well, not that big a deal. Next time maybe. But I just kind of winged it on the potato salad. I knew I needed either mayonnaise or Miracle Whip, so I used some Miracle Whip that I had, and I knew it needed some mustard, which I had. I boiled up the potatoes, and I was like, now what do I put in? And I was looking to see what I had in the refrigerator, and I had part of a package of bacon pieces. I don't get bacon bits, I get the real bacon pieces because they taste better and they're recognizable as what they're supposed to be. And I just dumped what was left in the package and put a generous handful of shredded sharp cheddar and put in some dill pickle relish. Did I put anything else in it? I think that was it. Mixed it up, and I figured it's like a bacon cheeseburger potato salad. Only instead of hamburger, you got potatoes. So, it's pretty good. I liked it, and finished it off for lunch today. Today was one of the rare occasions where I actually wanted lunch. But yeah, I had that for lunch, and I still have a couple ears of corn left because my son, for whatever reason, won't eat it. Good thing I only bought $1 worth. So there's that. That was a pretty good meal, and I had a chunk of watermelon and, the corn and the potato salad and the chicken, and it was a big, full meal. Very little actual work. Boiling water is not work. Pulling the husk off the corn, yeah, it's, 5 minutes for 3 ears? Something like that. All those dang strings. The corn silk is such a pain in the butt. And I'm still finding strings where they've cling to me, and I'm finding them on the floor here in the living room now, and where they cling to my clothes, and then I trailed them all through the house. Yeah, fun. This adulting stuff sucks. Yeah, okay, I'm 48. I've had plenty of time to learn to adult, but this adulting stuff sucks. And the more responsibility you gain, the worse it gets. And of course, I don't think I'm going to qualify if I tried applying for unemployment because I didn't work outside the home. I didn't have a paying job. So they weren't taking taxes out that would cover paying unemployment. So I don't think I'll qualify if I even try to apply. Although if they're giving people $600 a week for unemployment, I wouldn't know what to do with that much money. That's more than we were getting from Dad's Social Security when he was alive. If you figure 4 weeks a month, that's $2,400 a month. We were only getting, at the end, around $1,700. So, we learned to tighten our belts. And right now, I know I can get by on a whole lot less. So, yeah. It's just crazy the way things are right now. It would be nice to get another stimulus check. That would be really fun, because then I would feel more comfortable and have a little more breathing room knowing that there's a little money in the bank, Something to cover the bills until I can find something that's worth doing. All jobs are good jobs. Any income is good income. But, when you apply places and you can't even get an interview, and they're so desperate for help, but they won't even give you an interview because they didn't like the way you filled out their online questionnaire, rather than call you and talk to you and say, hey, why did you answer this question this way? They just write you off. Because I applied to Dollar General, which is right down the street. I could walk there. It would be real convenient. I wouldn't have to, worry about driving the car and spending all the money on gas and what have you. And I applied because they needed an assistant manager. I've been essentially an assistant manager. It wasn't my actual title. I was called a floor supervisor. because they did away with the title assistant manager when the manager of the shop retired, and then her two nieces, who were the assistant managers, moved up to manager. Since they were co-managers, they did away with the assistant manager position. And the lady who would have been next in line moved to Alabama, I think. She moved somewhere down south. I think it was Alabama, which then put me next in line. And I did almost everything that the managers did. The only thing I didn't do scheduling, and I think there was one or two other pieces of paperwork I didn't do. But I did deposits. I opened, I closed. I did inventory. I, logged, it was a bookstore, so I logged in the shipments and made sure, everything was accounted for. And I mean, all the stuff that the manager did, I was doing except for scheduling and maybe one or two other minor pieces of paperwork. And I wasn't involved in hiring. So, that I was essentially an assistant manager. So I filled out the application, I turned in a resume and everything, and they had this online assessment, because you have to do everything online. You can't just fill out a form anymore. You have to do everything online, which is a pain in the butt. So I did all that. I did this online assessment, and I didn't hear from them. So I went on back in to see if there was any information about who to contact or whatever, and it said denied because my answers on the assessment didn't, how did they phrase it? Something about they didn't fit in with what they wanted or something. I don't remember how they phrased it. Was not compatible with their store. And I'm like, what did I answer so weird? Some of the questions were flat out stupid. I guess I didn't like my logical responses to their stupid question. Like, okay, so they would give you a situation. Like, you're cashiering, you've got a long line of people, you're the only employee in the store. Red flag right there. I should not be the only employee in the store. There should always be minimum of 2 people, and there should always be one person who has a key who can lock the store up, do opening or closing. Should not be just a cashier in the store by themselves. So you've got this long line of customers, you're the only employee in the store, you're running the register, and somebody spills something on the floor. What do you do? And it gives you like 4 options, Call your manager. Call them and do what? Call them at home and say, yeah, I've got this long line of customers, which I'm ignoring right now because I'm calling you about this situation where somebody spilled something on the floor. Can you drive over here and clean it up for me? That's stupid. No, that's not a good answer. Leave the register and go clean up the mess. No, you deal with the customers in front of you who are in line. Deal with the customers who are in line, and if somebody comes in, say, hey, be careful, there's a spill, and then take care of the spill as soon as you're done with your customers in line. That's what I chose. And there was some other bizarre answer. What would you choose? I mean, seriously. The situation is stupid. It's a bad scenario. If I am the only person and I'm only a cashier, then I should not be in that store by myself. Ever. You should never have one employee by themselves in a store. The bookstore I worked for before that I was talking about, I would be the only person in the store when I was counting the drawers and making the deposits. And I always felt so nervous because what if somebody else came in? I mean, the doors are locked, but what if somebody else came in while I'm up there counting and something happens? What if, like, whoever's supposed to be coming in to help me open comes in and somebody follows them in. It's just, it was creepy. They learned that they should always have two people no matter what, that nobody should be in the store by themselves, because they had a supervisor person who came in, only worked on Sundays because he was also a letter carrier. So, Sunday was his day off. So he came in and worked to open the store. So basically he counted drawers and got the newspapers out for Sunday and opened the store, because then by that point somebody else would come in. He was robbing them blind because he was in there by himself. He had access to all the inventory and he knew how to go in and change numbers in the system, because we all knew how to do that. And so when he was in there by himself on Sunday mornings, after he'd put out the newspapers and stuff, he stole cases of like baseball cards and trading cards, because we had like a little candy counter that had some trading cards and it had a bunch of different candy bars and things. Cases of those. He would steal like computer and business books, which were the expensive books, especially if they had software in them. He'd steal software if there was anything that was a higher ticket item. He'd steal it and change the numbers. It wasn't really noticeable because when we do our rack checks, then if it said there was supposed to be 2 copies and you only found 1 copy, it's probably misplaced. And, it'd be like 1 here and 1 here, and, 1 this week and 1 next week. But it's consistently things we were having to reorder, and they ended up catching him because he was also stealing people's mail. And that's what triggered it. They caught him, they investigated him through the postal system and discovered he was stealing people's mail. And when they investigated, then went into his house to retrieve whatever, they found all this inventory that he had stolen from our bookstore. And all because he was in there by himself for a couple hours every Sunday morning. Nobody ever questioned him. Now, I don't know if the rumors are true, but I've heard it from several sources, and some of them very reputable, that that particular bookstore was owned by the mob. So, did I work for the mob? Unknowingly? If that's true, then I would venture to say that they wouldn't have been very happy finding out that this guy was robbing them blind several $1,000s worth of, tens of thousands of dollars worth of product, because he did it over several years. Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking these situations on this assessment thing are stupid and bogus. There was another one where, again, you're cashiering and you have a long line of people and your manager leaves. Wrong. Your manager doesn't just leave when you've got a long line of people. Your manager should come up and get on the other register and help get rid of that long line of people. Not just walk out the door. But your manager leaves and something happens. What do? First of all, your manager should never leave and make you the only person in the building or in the store with a whole bunch of customers. You shouldn't be the only employee in the store to begin with, like I've already said. If you have a manager who's just going to walk out the door when you've got a long line of people, that's a bad manager. It's also a bad manager if they only scheduled 1 person to be working. And I don't forget what I answered. What do? Do you call them back? Yeah, I would think so. If it's something you could handle on your own, handle it on your own, but you should never be in that situation to start with. So I'm wondering if the fact that I was approaching things logically and saying, in a real world situation, this should never happen to start with. But if for some reason it did, why is your manager leaving you by yourself with a whole line of people? It's just stuff that doesn't make sense. And there's certain functions that only a manager can do. Like in a lot of stores, only managers can do returns. That's why they're called customer service managers. And yeah, they're not going to be like, hey, you new person just walked in and joined the company. You know, you're only a lowly cashier. Here, take care of all this. You can do all the stuff. You can handle complaints and you can do all the returns and refunds and what have you. And you can do this, that, and the other thing. You're already pulling stock if you're not busy and whatever. A cashier's job is enough. Being there to ring people out and do minor stock in the area of the register is enough for that position. They should not be forced then to also do customer service manager jobs like returns and refunds and blah, blah, blah. So the fact that they presented you with this scenario that your manager walks out while you're the only person there with a long line of people, and then something happens, it's just a bad assessment. And if my answers were not compatible with their store, I'm really wondering, is that really a company you want to work for? I don't know. I've got a couple other places. I found out the Dollar Tree is looking for an assistant manager. I love the Dollar Tree. I go in there all the time. And, you can get some really good deals in there. You can find some nice things. Some of it's junk, yeah. But you can also find some really, really nice things. And then if you are price savvy and you know what you're looking for, you can get some real good deals on food too. Like I buy my garlic bread there because I can get the same brand and same size package of garlic bread, 6 slices in a box for $1, versus going to the actual grocery store. Walmart, I think, is like $1.69 or $1.79 for the same exact item, and the other local store is closer to $2 for the same exact item. Why can the dollar store sell it for $1 and everybody else has to charge you another 50% or more? It's crazy. There's a couple other things too. Bottled water, not great. You can get like 6 half-liter bottles for that $1, or you can go to Walmart and get either a 32 or a 40 pack, because sometimes you get the bonus pack that's got 40 for like $4 something, less than $5. And yeah, that's a considerable difference. For a 32 pack, that would be 32 divided by 6 would be 5 and change. So, you're saving, it's either $3.98 or $4.98. I think it's $4.98 if it's a 40 pack. So that's 9 bottles for $1 versus 6 bottles for $1. That's a considerable savings. So bet cheaper at Walmart versus the dollar store. So you got to be price savvy and know, but then there's also certain items that you can only get at the dollar store versus the other stores in our area. And then there's things like ramen noodles. Do not buy those at the dollar store. Buy those at Walmart. Because you can get a 12-count box for $2.12. It used to be $1.98. They raised the price. It's $2.12 now. At least at our Walmart. 12 boxes or 12 packets of ramen for $2 versus 5 packets for $1, which is 10 packets for $2. You're getting 2 more packets for what, 12 cents? For a 12-cent difference? Yeah, cheaper to get it at Walmart. If you're already going to Walmart, you get your ramen there. Other stores I've priced ramen, and Walmart is by far the better price. So, as much as I'm not a fan of going to Walmart, I wish we had other options here, since that's really, from where I live right now, within a half hour, well, with, let's say, a 25-minute drive, we have a Walmart in Mason, West Virginia. And if you go to about a, say, a 45-minute drive, now you're adding a Walmart in Gallipolis, a Walmart in Athens, a Walmart in Ripley, West Virginia. You're almost to Parkersburg Walmart. That's closer to an hour out. Charleston, West Virginia Walmart would be closer to an hour. We're surrounded by Walmart. The closest Target is roughly 2 hours away. And of course, you know, Kmart is pretty much history. The one here in our area closed out. It's like a tractor parts place now, because we do have a lot of farming in our area. So it makes sense that they'd put something like that in. But that's it. We have Walmart. For groceries, we have like a smaller locally owned branch of a chain. It's a small chain though. Food Fair's a small chain in our area. There's about 7 stores, I think. And ours is independently owned versus some of the other ones. And if you drive about the 4 to 5 minutes into Athens, there's a Kroger there. And I think there's a Kroger in Ripley. And then you've got like Save-A-Lot and Aldi's. There's a Save-A-Lot close. There's an Aldi's in Athens. I don't remember which one's in Gallipolis. There might be both in Gallipolis. I know there's both in Athens. So you got those little tiny stores, but for actual, like, real grocery store, pretty much Walmart. I wish we had a Target here. It'd be nice to have a Target close. If there's a Target close enough, I'd go back to work there. I liked working at Target. It was a good place to work when I worked there. And there I started out, first thing they trained me on was cashier, and then they put me on the sales floor in hard lines, versus soft lines, which is clothing. Hard lines is like everything else. Even though they trained me for jewelry, they never put me in jewelry. They put me in electronics. Go figure. So I was general sales floor and cashier backup. And then they needed somebody because the entertainment specialist left or was promoted or something. That position became open and I applied for it, and I got entertainment specialist because I had worked in the bookstore that I mentioned. And I also worked at a place called Media Play for a while until they closed. I don't even know if Media Play still exists. It was a neat store. There was a lot of potential there. We just had really bad advertising. When you live in a college town and you don't do advertising on TV or radio, and you only put it in the newspaper, college kids don't read newspapers that much. Very rarely. When I was a college student, I very rarely looked at the newspaper. I might buy the Sunday paper to get the coupons out so I could save a little bit of money when I went to the grocery. But for the most part, I didn't read the newspaper when I was in college. And I think I was pretty typical. None of my friends normally read the paper. So why are you, when you're in a college town, I mean, the Wright State University was literally just down the street. Why would you not advertise in formats that college students would know where you are. Because Media Play, what was neat was they were a full-size bookstore, a full-size video store, and a full-size music store, plus some other miscellaneous hard lines. We had some t-shirts, and we had some computer software, and we had some like action figure collectible stuff, a little small section of that. And we had a little cafe. When you had all that, and it's a really nice store, it's big, and it's clean, and it's nice, and everything in there is geared toward the 18 to 35 demographic, which is what everybody targets, because those of us that are over 35 apparently don't have opinions and don't have money and don't count. Don't get me started on that one. That's a whole other ball of wax. Why would you only advertise in the paper on Wednesday and Sunday? You're not even advertising the whole week. You're only advertising on Wednesday and Sunday when the sales ads go out. Seems to me that your advertising dollars could be going to sources that are actually going to get people into your store. Because whenever somebody would be like, oh, where do you work? And I'd be like, Media Play. Well, what's that? And I'd tell them, we got books and movies and music and, some computer stuff and some collectible stuff. And there's a little cafe. They're like, wow, that's really neat. And that's how we were getting business. I happened to start working there because I got pissed off at the bookstore because our manager was actually, he wasn't the manager, he was the vice president of the company, was not a pleasant person to work with. And something happened, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. And I was like, that's it. Went out, found another job, put in my 2 weeks notice, and they're like, well, we didn't know you were disappointed working here, you weren't happy working here. And I'm like, how can you say that when you did everything you could to piss me off and get me to quit? I mean, I was off one day, my scheduled day off, and he came in that day and decided to rearrange all of my departments. I had taken over the children's area, and it was arranged a certain way for a reason, and he decided that he wanted to arrange it differently. He was tired of the way it was arranged, so he wanted to rearrange it. And this poor high schooler, whose name is also Amy, so, little Amy, when I came in, she's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to do it, but he made me. And I'm like, but, and everybody's like, oh, you're not going to like this. Eric was in yesterday, and stuff, he decided he wanted to move stuff around. I'm like, oh my God, what did he do? And poor little Amy, she was just practically in tears. She was so upset. She was afraid I was going to get mad at her. I'm like, I'm not mad at you. You were just doing what you were told. And that's what you do. When your boss tells you to do something, you do what the boss says, even if it's stupid. And he had gone. We had, in children's departments and bookstores, you've got like all the kits and the odd-shaped things that don't really fit on a shelf. We had these like pyramid risers, and that's how we were displaying them. So people could see what they were, and we didn't have to try to figure out how to actually put that stuff on a shelf when they were such weird shapes and sizes and just didn't conducively work on a shelf. He decided those were going on a shelf, and he was going to put books out on there. It's a bookstore. We need to display the books on those pyramids. No. And we had spinners that were specifically designed for Goosebumps books. He wanted to take the Goosebumps books out of those and put other stuff in there. It's all branded Goosebumps. Why would you put something else in there? Duh. And that's when Goosebumps was huge, like blowing up, humongous. The Media Play store I went to, I ended up being put in charge of the Goosebumps Club for the last couple months the store was open, because the person that had been doing it moved on to something else. And they were grooming me to be the children's lead. And they were like, yeah, we're putting you in for children's lead. You're going to get a promotion, and, you know, it'll take a couple weeks, but then it'll start reflecting in your check, blah, blah, blah. And it turned around and closed the store. Blew us all away. We didn't know that was coming. But, yeah. They called me at home. They're like, we've got some bad news. I'm like, what? What happened? And they're like, they closed our store. I said, what do you mean they closed our store? Like, we're out of business. Officially. Kaput. Now. When you come in tomorrow, there will be a guard at the door. And we are closed. It blew everybody out of the water. None of us knew it was coming. None of the management team knew, except for the store lead, the store team manager, whatever, the head guy. We found out after the fact that he was a hatchet man. And whenever he was put into a store, that store ended up closed. He was basically there to set us up to close. And we had just gone through a huge remodel. I actually got my brother in on the crew to do the remodel. And then he was like, that was all done. And a couple weeks later, I get the call that our store's closed. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. No warning or anything? Nope. They got, as soon as all the customers were out, they locked the door. That was it. Our job then, starting the next day, was to pack everything up. And we could work however many hours we wanted, whatever time we wanted to get there and to start. They would unlock the door at a certain time, and we could work from that time until they kicked us out at night. However many hours a day we wanted to work. Until the place was packed up and done. That manager stole some of the display televisions. It was like, seriously? You send this guy in, closes down the store, and then he steals electronic equipment that was like hardwired into the store. Because they had, you know how some places have like, I don't know, 9 or 16 televisions that make like a square and it's like one big picture mosaic thing? We had one of those. He stole those monitors. Those televisions. He stole them. Why do I keep ending up with places where the managers steal things? Yeah, craziness. But Media Play was a neat place. And it's a shame that it closed down. I'd probably still be there if it didn't. Joanne Fabric, I worked there for a little while. So when I walked into Target and applied for a job, I started out at a much higher rate of pay than somebody with no experience because I had already worked 3 different retail situations. And then when the entertainment specialist position came open and my team lead interviewed me for the position, he's like, I didn't know you had all this experience. We would have put you in that position a lot earlier. Like, I turned in a resume when I filled out my application. You did my first interview. It's not like you didn't have a chance because I got interviewed the day I filled out my application. They were hiring for seasonal and I just happened to walk in the store that day, and I had just lost a position I was in because they were downsizing. And it was like, okay, I need a job. And I filled out the application on a whim. I happened to have a copy of my resume and attached it to the thing. So it's not like he couldn't have looked it up. He should have known that I had this experience. But because I had worked at the bookstore and at Media Play, I was perfect candidate to be entertainment specialist. And I liked doing that. I didn't mind that at all. And then some stuff happened and we ended up moving. And it was more convenient for me to go to the new store that had just opened. So I asked for a transfer and became part of what they call the flow team, which basically means help unload trucks and then push the stock to the floor. I was a stalker, fancy name. It was a $1 pay cut from being a specialist, but because we were considered overnight, because our shift started at 3 a.m., I got a $1 premium for being an overnight worker. So I didn't lose any money. Basically, money-wise, it was a lateral transfer. So, And we were like a family because, when you get up at 3 a.m. and start working with people at 3 a.m., and it's a small group of people, you get to know each other fairly well. And I don't see anybody anymore because I don't really go back up in that area very often. Because when my marriage broke up and I got divorced and everything, and I moved here, it's almost a 3-hour drive to go back, and so I don't go there very often. And most of the people I worked with aren't there anymore. They've moved on to other things. So I don't see anybody anymore, which is a shame, because we were a pretty nice group of people to work with, and we were like family. When everything hit the fan and I called in and said, yeah, I won't be in today because I have to go to court because something really bad happened. I said, I'll have to talk to you about it after. And they're like, oh, okay. They're real cryptic. I couldn't say anything. I said, if for some reason my husband shows up there, call the police, have him arrested. That's all I can say about it. Just tell him, there's a warrant out for him. If he shows up, call the police, have him arrested. They're like, okay. And so then, after everything, I went and talked to my supervisor and said, this is what's going on. If he shows up ever, call the police, have him arrested, let them deal with him. We alerted the store security and everybody so that if he shows up, here's a picture of him. If this guy walks in the door, call the police, have him arrested. And I ended up not having to do all that because he actually called me. I was at my brother's house. He called me at my brother's house and was like, I figured I'd find you there. And I'm like, oh, where are you? And he's like, in our house, in our apartment. Where do you think I'd be? And I'm like, well, you took off. I was wondering, He's like, yeah, I'm actually next door with the neighbor. And so I knew where he was. I called the police and said, there's a warrant out for him. This is where he is. Go get him. About 15 minutes later, I got a phone call from the person whose house he was hiding out in. They're like, yeah, the police just came and they have him in handcuffs in the back of the cruiser. What do you want me to do? I said, well, he deserves to be arrested. I don't want you to do anything. Just let him take him. Don't let him get you in trouble and get you hurt. Just let the police handle it. He's like, okay, are you sure this is what you want? I said, yeah. Because without going into the whole story, he did something super bad and he deserved to go to jail for it. Anyway, hence the breakup of my marriage. And I ended up staying then until the end of summer. This happened in May, and I stayed until July 31st was my last official day working for Target. And I'm sad that, there isn't one here. I would have gladly transferred to another Target store, and I could have worked pretty much anywhere in the store, except customer service, which I hadn't been trained in. And we had a blizzard happen, and I was coming off of the overnight shift, and my supervisor, who was covering, he was lead of the day or whatever, for a couple more hours anyway. He was like, can you stay? And I'm like, yeah. He says, do you know how to run customer service? I said, never been in there, never worked it. He's like, oh, probably wouldn't be very helpful then. Go ahead and go home. I'm like, okay. Luckily the next day wasn't a non-truck day, so I wasn't scheduled, but he says, just come back on your next scheduled day. And I'm like, okay, but I can stay if you need me, not a big deal. I can just make a phone call home. He's like, no, I really need somebody who can run customer service. I was like, well, if any of the cashiers can, then send them over there and I'll cashier, whatever. Because I could use the extra in my check. And He's like, no, it's okay. I'll take care of it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I felt good that they thought enough of me to offer me the chance. If I knew that position, I could have stayed and worked overtime. And Target doesn't give overtime. It's very rare. The one time I was allowed overtime is because a group of us on the flow team went to a different store that I think has since closed. I think that location has since closed. I'm not entirely sure, but I think they have. That they had a huge problem with expired product being out on the floor. So they had a team of us from our store go over to that store, and we could have all the overtime we wanted to clear up their mess. And so, you know, we had several aisles of food to go through. We had the back room to go through. We had up in health and beauty stuff to go through. And of course, we're doing all this while there's customers in the store. But we put in probably, I think there's maybe 6 or 8 of us that went over that particular day. And we put in, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. And then they're like, yeah, it's time for lunch, so you might as well just go home. Well, we can take care of the rest. And it's like, okay, if you're sure, because, you know, we were told we could stay and help as long as possible, as long as you needed us. And they were like, no, just, it's good. We can handle it from here. You took care of the bulk of it. I don't know how many aisles I personally worked on, but man, when you're going through item by item, there's a lot of stuff on those shelves. I know I did chips. I remember doing chips and pulling out just bags and bags and bags of expired chips. Which, I mean, technically they're still good. It's a best buy, not an expiration. But when you have fresh product sitting there, put the fresh product out, get rid of the old stuff. I don't know what they did with it all, if they just wrote it off and threw it in the trash or what. Would have been nice if it wasn't too far out to give it to a food bank or something, because in that part of Dayton, there's a lot of hungry people. Anyway, I've babbled on another half hour. Holy cow, this is a long-ass video, and I'm talking about just random crap. Interrupting myself and then coming back around. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to end it here, because seriously, who's going to watch an hour and a half of me babbling? If you made it this far, bless your heart, because good Lord. Hopefully it's been entertaining. I've been entertained. Anyway, remember to do all the YouTube-y stuff. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Ring the bell icon. We're up to a whole 36 subscribers now. Woohoo! I would really, truly like to make it to 50 by the end of the year, if that's not too much to ask. I can't think of anything else offhand to talk about, so maybe I'll come up with something new tomorrow. Maybe we'll do the Klondike bars tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever there's time. Yeah, I don't have anything else, and I need to finish my book, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so, yeah, it's going to be at least 3:30 before I'm done with my book. So I'm going to get off of here, and bye-bye. See you in the next one.